Alright, we are tackling stage 11 and the eve of Wanton Feast, which is the version, or the tail end of the version 2.0, and we are going to tackle it using 4-star characters, consisting of Chinchua, Tingyan, Anya, and Lynx. Team 2 is going to include Fire Trailblazer, Gwenephen, Sampo, and Asta. For Team 1, there's not a lot to go over. Obviously, Tingyan's just a really powerful buffer for your DPS, and since we're running a damage over time team on one of the two teams, it really makes it a lot easier to choose which team gets Tingyan. If you don't have your Chinchua at E4+, and you don't feel like she's doing enough damage, I think Shui is still a very good damage choice. I can easily replace her and can deal with Gatekeeper almost as easily as she can. Anya, obviously there to help us with our skill points. If you have other buff units that you prefer, or even like a debuffer like Pella, then you can feel free to use them. And then Lynx is just helpful for the quantum advantage. Team 2 is going to be a damage over time focused team, and Trailblazer is more than enough sustain here, with Gwenephen and Sampo being very powerful in this stage, especially because we do fight the Overcooked boss, who does raise his stacks every time you detonate damage over times. So if you have Sampo at E4, then combine that with Gwenephen's ult, which detonates burns, and then the Trotters, which also detonate DOTs, the first half of the battle, the Overcooked isn't even really an opponent, it's just another source of damage. And then we ended off with Asta, just so that we can fully benefit from the Glamoth set by getting over 165 speed. If you don't have your damage over time units built, you can swap them out with Hook. I'd say is probably the strongest option. After that, Serval and Dan Hong are also pretty good options. Serval benefits a little bit more from this buff because she does have the damage over time. But if you just really like Dan Hong and you have him invested, he can definitely make the stage work. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get started. We are going to use all of our techniques here. I will say you do want to avoid Chinchua's technique though, because you don't want to start her turn with a full hand, because that's just damage lost. I'd say it's better to restart if you can't get it in like 3 to 4 skill points than continuously restarting because you get it with a full hand. You just have better odds if you don't use her technique. Anyways. So we're just going to start with Tingyan buff, just so that we can advance our actions and waste no time. We're going to avoid using skills until we weakness break the Gatekeeper at least once. We get our buffs on Chinchua, and yeah, just focus the Gatekeeper with tech advantages. We're gonna save our ult until we actually need it. We don't want to just waste it and get up enhanced basic with no buffs from our skill. Regen our ult energy a little bit more. Ooh. Okay, great. Okay, now we just get another enhanced. Okay, that's great follow up. Now we can use our ult here. That we have a few buffs, so it actually does damage. Okay, good damage, and luckily it was within breaking range. If you ever do have to deal with Sanction mode, you could just have the Trotters damage over time kind of deal with the Dragonfish it summons, and you just have to deal with the single target attacks. We'll focus on Guardian Shadow because honestly Gatekeeper is dead to damage over time. Okay, I wasn't sure if it would die there. This is where the real fight begins, since we did kind of skip Gatekeeper. We will focus on the middle because we do want to still hit the Trotter. But Cocolia is a very tanky boss, and she has a lot of powerful single target damage, so you have to be very careful of her. And then her ultimate does come out on, I believe, the end of turn 3, and it does do a really large amount of damage, so you want to make sure you have the health to deal with it. Other than that, we'll just make sure to deal with Guardian Shadow so that we don't have to deal with the extra damage coming out. I might be set out a little prematurely. Might as well use her ult here. Unlike Memory of Chaos 12, where I kind of saved the Trotters in between cycles, I don't really do it as much here. Just because it's harder to achieve since we do have Chinchua who's kind of just shredding the Trotter's health. It's still a viable strat, but yeah, I don't worry about it as much. Well, at least I got the enhanced basic. We didn't have a lot of skill points, so there was a pretty good chance we might have failed. Cocolia is definitely within weakness break range, so we can delay her ult from coming out. This is a really annoying freeze. I believe it lasts 2 turns, so it does suck to get hit by it. Main goal here is just to weakness break Cocolia before she gets that ultimate attack out, because it's gonna do like nearly 3k damage, so you definitely need to make sure that you can mitigate it in some way. Since we delayed it, we can buy ourselves time to get Lynx's ultimate. Okay. Lucky again, honestly. Thought we're just gonna get a basic. We'll heal up now, just because this is the only attack coming out, so we want to make sure we have full health for it. And since we dealt with Guardian Shadow, we don't need to deal with any incoming damage. She's so low. You have the DPS, it is good to try to kill her before that attack comes out, because it can definitely kill one of your units if you're not careful. Okay, follow up plus 3 skill points. I think we've secured this. Yeah. First half wasn't terribly difficult, but we did stop Gatekeeper from... Ooh, that sucks. Anyways, we did stop Gatekeeper from getting any of his damage out by killing him at the very start of the battle. Then we also dealt with the Guardian Shadow to make Cocolia a simpler boss when she's alone. Anyways, here we just want to kind of splash the Overcooked boss on the left just to increase his stacks, but we don't want to increase or decrease his weakness bar too much, because we do benefit from the damage that he deals to his own team. Okay, we might as well use that. Yeah, for the TV, for my only use of it is just to make sure that it doesn't decrease our energy. Otherwise, I don't care too much about it. With this, we can probably blow up Overcooked. Yep. So yeah, it just does a whole bunch of damage to its own team. And if you don't know, every time you detonate damage over times, it increases the stacks. So Sampo's skill, Gwyneth's ult, and the Trotters all will do that. And then he also will gain stacks when he takes damage over time. He does move before the end of this cycle, so I might just let him finish himself off. We'll use the splash here just to increase his stacks by 1. Ugh. We'll see if we can salvage that. Not looking too bright. We don't move before the end. Okay. Whatever, that's a cycle loss, but we still have a lot of time. Here, Decaying Shadow really isn't a difficult boss on a good day, but especially now that we have all this damage over time, just kind of destroying her health bar, and then we also have full type advantages over her, so her toughness bar just doesn't really stand a chance, even if we don't target her. We'll use the skill just so that we can decrease Svarog's ultimate. I mean his toughness bar a little bit more. I do want to aim to weakness break him in between his attacks, just so that we can prevent the hand from doing anything. And if I hit Decaying Shadow here, I can break them both with Sampo's ult. So, if Svarog is weakness broken or anything like that, he can't give orders to the hand, so it will not steal any of your units, which just gives us time to kill this Trotter, so that it can deal damage over time to the hand, and kind of deal with all of its health for us. A little unfortunate. Had more health than I thought. At this point, all of our units pretty much have damage over times on the boss. So the only skills you really need to worry about are using Trailblazer skill, and if you have Sampo at 4 limit breaks, Sampo skill, because that is damage boost. Otherwise, Gwyneth's skill doesn't really do anything her basic attack doesn't do to a single target, other than increased toughness bar damage. And then Asta's skill will just really increase her ultimate, since we have our stacks pretty much maxed out all the time. And we don't really need the speed since the enemies are taking damage from damage over time, not our own damage. I'm pretty sure if we weakness break, we push him to the next cycle. Oh, okay. Sweetly move before the end. Thought we were gonna lose another cycle there. No, again, not that it matters. This is the last fight and we already have a lot of cycles to play with. Alright, and that is the end of stage 11. I'm just gonna quickly cut to the characters and that will finish off this video. Alright, let's go over the character stats now. This is the Hoyle app site and it does have all of the characters and their relics, their stats, traces, light cones, eidolons, etc. all on one screen. So I think this is just a simpler overview. They did update it because before it used to just look like this, which, you know, it works, but it doesn't show the in-depth stats. But now that they've kind of updated it to show all the in-depth stats, I think this is going to be an easier way of overviewing the stats. For Chinchu, I did run Pioneer, mostly because it's a lot stronger than my Quantum set, but also because the Trotters can be weakness broken fairly easily, keeping very good uptime on the double crit damage and crit rate buff that this set provides. For Tingyan, just a standard attack set. I did have Broken Keel and the effect Res at plus 30% to get the 10% crit damage bonus. Both my Harmony characters are just running Dance. Hanya, I kind of messed up. I didn't have enough effect res, so meh. But she is running a break set to deal with the Trotters. The main reason she doesn't have the required effect res because I did switch her set on her. I'll probably update that for future videos. Lynx, I switched her back to the Hackerspace set. I did have her on the break set before, but I think Hacker set's just one of her best sets, and she doesn't really need the outgoing healing boost to counter Sam's healing boost reduction. Trailblazer, pretty standard set, just a defense set. The Planar Spear and Link Rope, I did run the Penacony set, which does help Gwyneth to some extent. Then Trailblazer also appreciates the extra energy regen to some extent. Gwyneth, standard damage over time set. I did try to get them over the 135 speed point, but we do have Asta here, so she can help guarantee that, so we can fully benefit from Glamoth. Sampo, again, the standard damage over time set. She does have an attack body piece because I don't have any effect, or I only have the one effect res body piece that Gwyneth has. And our final character, Asta, is running Mesh and Cogs. That's probably the biggest part of the kit that I'd like to call out because it just keeps her ult uptime really high, and with her second Eidolon, when she uses her ult, she does not lose charging stacks. So having her ult up very often means that she's almost always going to have all 5 stacks. I do have her on the Hackerspace set just because I like the speed, and I've just been lazy and haven't switched her off the Broken Keel set, mainly because I don't just have a good spear for her, and also all my energy ropes are stolen in that set, or in the Penacony set. So that is the end of this video. I'll switch back to this. And yeah, I'll try to, I think I might go over stage 10, mostly because the enemies are physical weak, so I do kind of want to showcase Luca with this damage over time buff, since he does do quite a bit of bleed damage on his own. And when you have a Trotter there to detonate it, I think he's going to go pretty crazy. And possibly I'll also try to go over stage 9 because it does include 2 of the newer bosses. We'll see about stage 8 and stage 7, since I guess Ebon Deer is an interesting boss. Yeah, I'll just see if I have time for it all. Anyways, thanks for watching.